Alright, today's project is ignition coil upgrade on REX. So we've got new plug wires from BHR, new ignition coils from BHR with the new base plate. So these are off of LS motor, so they're supposed to be a lot better for the RX8, which has notoriously underpowered ignition coils, and then some new NGK spark plugs, and these awesome stickers that add 5 horsepower each. Heck yes. Alright, let's do it. Alright, first things first, take off the engine cover if you've still got it on there. Put that off to the side. And then we've got a few different vacuum hoses coming into the throttle body that we've got to take off. And basically we're going to want to take the whole air intake, well, not the air intake, but everything leading up to the throttle body is going to have to come off for us to get in here. You don't have to disconnect the battery. Mine's dead, so I definitely don't have to disconnect mine as long as the car is in the off position. So but we're going to get all of this out of here. Actually, before we take all this out, we've got to take this off. We're going to do that first. We're going to use our trusty 10mm. Negative. Not 10mm. 12mm. Not 10mm. Now this can come out. Set it off to the side. Alright, my battery died on my action cam, so waiting for the other one to charge. And in the meantime, so we've got the strut bar out. I took these 3 hoses off, and they were a little tough to get off, so I ended up using a little Allen wrench and basically push down on the little edge of the hose to get it pushed off of the nipple, because it was on there really tight. So you just want to be careful not to break those plastic pieces. And then you want to disconnect your mass airflow sensor. So you just push down on this back tab and pull out. And then same thing down here on the VDI wiring sensor. It's got a little tab in the back. Just push that down and pull out. Alright, now using a 10mm socket, we're going to loosen up the this clamp here that goes to the intake manifold, or from the intake tube to the throttle body, and this way we'll be able to pull all of this off. Alright, so this is the fun part where we've got to take this whole section out. So it's really awkward. I probably can't do this with one hand, but basically you've got to push that way with this part and then come up with it, and then you should be able to pull all of this out. That's what we're going to try and do. Alright, let's give it a shot. Alright, that's part of the way. Just wiggle that off. And I forgot to take this off, so we need to get that out. It looks like there's one more hose down here. Try again. Alright, so we've got the air filter box part way out, but we still need to get this wiring clip out and take off this hose so that this whole thing can come out. Well, tried using this tool to get it out of there, which I did, got it out, but ended up splitting it as well. So, oh well, plastic stuff. Hopefully it should still go back in there and sit pretty well. But now we can move this out to the side and kind of tuck it away over here. Alright, I'm going to try and use my little Allen wrench. They make a little pick thing, but I don't have one. Try and get this hose off down in here. Alright, see if we can get it all out now. Looks like we're still connected somewhere. Down here. Alright, another hose that we need to disconnect. Looks like it's got a little socket. So maybe just disconnect here. A lot of little hoses. That looks to be the last of it. I can get that one off. Should be good to go from here. Alright, so now that the air box is out, you can see our existing plug wires and coils down here. So that's what we're going to be taking out next. Quite dirty. Quite old. Alright, so now we can take out, if they come off, disconnect all the plug wires. Expected that to be easier. Might need 2 hands for this. Alright, I got all the plug wires off, and as you can see, they were quite stuck on there, so much so that they took a piece of the ignition coil with them on these two. And then disconnected this little clip here, which ended up breaking because it's really brittle plastic. I've seen some people just zip tie this back on once they're done. So that will allow us to get that up and out of the way when we go to take this out of here. So on to the next task. So now we're gonna take each of these 10mm bolts out that are holding on the coils. We'll take those out one by one. Alright, gonna get a few extensions on our wrench with a 10mm and then start taking these out one by one. You know, I'm actually gonna get a knuckle. I think that'll help get in there. Alright, I'm gonna try with the swivel now, see if that gives us a little better shot. Maybe. $10mm seems too big. That can't be right. So it is 10mm. It helps when you have the 10mm socket on instead of a 12mm. Try this again. Break all of them loose first, and then come back and get them with a magnet so I don't lose any into the abyss. It looks like we can get to 3 or 4 of them relatively easy. But this wiring harness is in the way down here on this one. Just push it to the side. Alright, so we got 4 bolts out now. So now we can remove these one at a time, supposedly, starting at the front. I probably need to unclip them as I go. Alright, so we got the 4 plugs out. You see these white dots on there? Supposedly that means they're kind of burned up, which I'm hoping is the case because my car's not running good at all right now. I'm hoping it's this and not the engine. But yeah, we got these out now. Now that we've got the coils out, there's a tab, this metal tab right here that has this wiring loom attached. You have to bend that down about a 1/2 inch, but you want to make sure it doesn't bend enough to rub up against your belt right here. Just enough to get it kind of out of the way. Once you've got these out, you want to make sure that you keep them in order. You don't want to get those mixed up. That'll be bad. So the kit comes with these little nylon spacers. So you get 4 of them, and you put each one down on one of the studs, trying not to drop and lose them into the abyss. It's always my biggest goal on this stuff. Don't lose anything. Okay, so those are on there. We've got the wiring loom bent down. Now we've got our coil packs here with the ground wire that you want to unravel. And I need to figure it out real quick, but we're going to route this through first and then try and get these in place. Okay, so what you're going to do, once you got the ground moved away, is you're actually going to disconnect the wiring harness that comes with the BHR system. So there's these little tabs on the back, and you just push those up and push out to disconnect all this, and then we're going to get this harness in place before we get the new coils in place. Alright, so I've got the harness in place. I routed the wire back through here, kind of underneath the brake booster area, and then back up through here to this ground lug right here. And then so this is a 10 millimeter. I'll take that off, put the ground lug down there with the other 2 that are existing, and then tighten the bolt back on, and then we'll be grounded. All right, so we got our ground wire in, and we're all routed. I'm gonna wait and zip tie at the end once I make sure this all fits together. Yeah, now. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is attach, starting at the back, each of the BHR connectors to the stock Mazda connector. We'll just go down the line and connect all those. All right, so we've got all of our connections made. So now we're gonna have to bring the new coils in. We need to keep this alternator wire out of the way, and then we're gonna have to pick these up and keep them out of the way. And before you put the coil assembly down onto the studs, you want to plug all of these in first before you do that. And supposedly it's going to be a really tight fit, so let's see how it goes. Alright, so I slid in the coil packs, and before we mount them on, we're supposed to get all of the wiring plugged in. So now I've got to figure out how to do that. This definitely is tight, they weren't joking. Quite tight. And we're in. So we got it mounted down on there. You can see the studs sticking through there. Everything's plugged in. Like I said, plug these in before starting at the back, working your way forward. Plug those in before you drop this down on. Now, it looks like these spark plug wires could be difficult. Loud noises. Anyway, as I was saying, it looks like the spark plug boot wires are going to be pretty close here, so that'll be interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see. So now we're going to install the 10 millimeter nuts back on all of the studs and try not lose any. Alright, so we got the bolts tightened down in here. You can see them, they're hiding. So the front one and the back one I was able to get to with a socket wrench. The ones in the middle are really difficult, so I took the wiring loom out, tried to get just a small little wrench in there, and I was able to tighten it a little bit, but it's not nearly as tight as the other 2. It's a little tough. I don't know if there's a better way to do that or not, but that's what I did. Alright, so now we're going to hook up the plug wires to the coils. So we're going to start at the very back and then work our way forward. So the black end of the coils, this end goes to the, black end of the wires goes to the coils, and the gray end goes to the spark plugs. Alright, so we've got the car jacked up, wheels off, got a jack stand under there. So we're not just trusting the hydraulic jack. And you can see back here my flap is not in the right position. I think it sits like this, maybe? I don't know. It kind of covers that hole, it's supposed to. So back in here, you can see all of the plug locations. So you should be able to get to everything pretty easily from here. So we can get the old plug wires out, start feeding in the new ones, and get the old spark plugs out and swap those. Alright, so we've got our new spark plugs here. You can see on there there's an L and a T. One's leading, one's trailing. So the bottom spark plug is leading. You can see there's an L. There's an L and then there's a T for leading and trailing. So the top is the trailing, bottom's leading. Just need to make sure you get the right spark plug in the right location in the housing. L to L, T to T. So we got our spark plug socket. It's got like a little rubberized boot in there. And so we'll use this to get the old plugs out, and then once we got those out, we'll put the new ones in. Alright, so a little correction. You need a 13/16 spark plug adapter, which is bigger than the one I showed earlier. But I got all the plugs in, all the new ones. The old ones look quite terrible, so they definitely need to be swapped out. So now we're gonna run the plug wires from the top down here and get them all plugged in. And I'll show a picture here of where all of the plugs go from which coil to which plug, so you get the wires right. Alright, got everything in. These plugs were a bit hard to get onto the coils, but it seems like all of them snapped in place. There was like 2 clicks, so I think they're all locked in there pretty good. The wires don't run through the little clip back there anymore. There's not really a way to route them to where they're long enough, as is. So it's kind of up against the AC line, which I don't really like, but not really much other room to put it. It's pretty tight. But there they all are installed. And the way I put them in from back to front was trailing 2, leading 2, trailing 1, leading 1 over here. So that one first, then that one, then that one, then that one. So now we gotta put it all back together and see if it works. Now we've got our air box back in place. That would have been a good time to clean it or change it if you need to do so before you get it back in there. Reconnected the VCI plug here, this little hose down here, put that back in the slot, reconnected the mass airflow sensor. You got these 3 vacuum lines here that we reconnected, and then this tube down here. I think that's about it. Now I just need to get the wheel back on, and in my case, jump start it, see how it runs. This is alive again. See if the coils worked. Ugh. Hopefully we're in good shape. It's definitely idling much better, but we're also not warmed up yet, so we'll see.